While picking up my wife early from the airport as a surprise, I noticed her kissing a stranger outside the terminal. She laughed and remarked that he still believed this was a work trip. The poor guy even sent flowers to my hotel room, while I was yelling another man's name all weekend. I waited until she got into the car, greeted her with a smile, and inquired about the conference. Unbeknownst to her, I was already devising the most devastating revenge imaginable. 3 days later, my phone was bombarded with 38 frantic messages. That's when she realized I wasn't just smiling. I'll get right to it because I know how these stories usually unfold. People either say, "Bro, you missed the signs," or, "Nah, this can't be real." But honestly, I wish it wasn't. I'm just a guy named Stanley, 31, married to June for a little over 3 years. No kids, and no wild story about how we met. We actually crossed paths because we both got scammed into this ridiculous outdoor survival experience. Those bizarre ads that seem real but are just some guy with a tent and granola bars? Yeah, that was us. We quickly bonded over being the only two who showed up and realizing it was all a joke. We grew close quickly. It always felt like we shared the same mindset about how silly people behave online and how everyone pretends. That's why this whole situation hit differently. I thought we were immune to all that fake stuff. Marriage was just the next step. Neither of us was seeking a grand fairy tale, just figured we'd go through life together without taking things too seriously. Lately, though, it's been strange. I wouldn't even say it was anything major, just a vibe. June started wanting more alone time and suddenly had her phone on Do Not Disturb, even at home. I'm not the jealous type. My ex used to say I was too laid back. But when someone you live with acts like you're going to pop out of the laundry basket and read their texts, it feels off. She mentioned this retreat to clear her mind, networking or whatever. I didn't overthink it. My mom kept suggesting I should visit her and dad more, but I didn't want to be that needy guy just because my wife was busy. For the record, we're not rich or influencers. We're just ordinary folks. I drive an old hatchback. She always complains about our lousy Wi-Fi and her phone that never charges properly. Anyway, when June was gone for a long weekend, I stayed home, did the usual chores, and sent her one of those flower delivery things to her hotel room just for fun. Who even gets flowers on a work trip? I thought it would be amusing. She replied with just a heart emoji, nothing else. Then on Sunday night, while scrolling through my phone, I realized I genuinely missed her. I decided to pick her up from the airport early, not to catch her cheating, just to do something nice for once. I didn't tell her. I just checked her flight online and set an alarm for Monday morning. I drove out, stopped for coffee on the way, and almost spilled it on my pants in the drive-thru. Classic. When I got to arrivals, it was chaotic, the usual airport vibe with people acting busy but just scrolling on their phones. I was waiting outside, feeling a bit awkward leaning against the car, wondering if I should go inside with one of those silly signs. I decided against it, then spotted her. She had her hair up and was wearing a jacket I'd never seen before. A tall, scruffy guy was with her. Not exactly what I'd call her type, but I didn't know what that even meant anymore. I was about to walk over and say hi, but then I saw her go right up and kiss him, not just a quick peck. I stopped cold, coffee in hand, trying not to appear like a total fool. They were laughing and talking, and she used that voice she only brings out to sound cool. Then I heard her say it. He still thinks this is a work trip. The poor guy even sent flowers to my hotel. She laughed and added, "Meanwhile, I was screaming another man's name all weekend." I wasn't sure if the guy was listening or pretending not to, but he smirked and shrugged. He picked up her suitcase and started wheeling it to the curb. I ducked behind a pillar, feeling like a weirdo, just standing there with my phone in my pocket, hand shaking slightly. Not dramatically, just annoyed, thinking, of course this is happening to me. She hugged him quickly and then walked straight toward the pickup area, scrolling on her phone. I snapped out of it, walked up, and popped the trunk. She saw me, did a double take, and put on the fakest smile I'd ever seen. She got in and said, "Oh, you're early." I replied, "Yeah, wanted to surprise you. How was the conference?" She went off about how exhausting it was, how brutal networking was, and how the hotel food was terrible. I just nodded and drove off while she rambled on about her college roommate she ran into at the hotel and how small the world is. She kept checking her phone. I asked if she wanted to grab breakfast, and she said she just wanted to shower and nap. I said, sure, whatever. She slammed the front door when we got home, threw her bag down, and headed straight to the bathroom. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the fridge, thinking, what do I even do now? I texted my friend Gage, telling him I needed to talk, but he was at work. I went into the bedroom. Her stuff was everywhere. She had left her suitcase half unzipped, and her phone was charging on my nightstand. I didn't know what I expected to find, but I opened the suitcase. Clothes, some receipts, a little hotel shampoo bottle. She came out, saw me, and asked what I was doing. I said I was just looking for my earbuds. She narrowed her eyes at me and stormed off to the living room, turning on the TV. I went to the bathroom, locked the door, and sat on the edge of the tub for a moment. I should probably say I had some big emotional moment, but honestly, I just felt angry. Not sad, just insulted. I thought about texting her mom but decided against it. Their family is nosy and would instantly take her side. I heard her pacing around, slamming kitchen drawers, probably looking for a snack. I went out and asked if she was okay. She snapped at me, said she was tired, and suggested I should find something useful to do. I said, sure, I'll go out for a bit. I sat in the car in the driveway, scrolling through old pictures, trying to figure out where I missed the signs. Then I remembered the flowers. I logged into the delivery site and checked the receipt. She never even mentioned them. I texted Gage again, but he replied, yo, can't talk. Boss is here. I don't really care. I started making a list on my phone of things I needed to check. Joint accounts, bills, shared passwords. Stuff you don't think about until you have to. I went back inside. She was on the phone with someone, her voice low, repeating, babe, and saying he had no idea. I stood in the hallway listening. She saw me, hung up, and glared at me like I was the one being sneaky. I asked her if she wanted to go for a walk later. She rolled her eyes and said she wasn't in the mood. I said, fine, I'll make dinner. She shrugged and said whatever. I went to the kitchen, started cooking, but wasn't really paying attention, just going through the motions. She came in, leaned against the counter, looked like she wanted to say something, but just grabbed a glass of water and left. That night, I lay awake listening to her scroll through her phone. I couldn't sleep, so I got up and went for a drive, just up and down the street, not really going anywhere. When I got back, she was asleep on the couch, her phone on her chest. I stared at her for a second, knowing what I had to do. I wouldn't be the guy who just takes it, smiles, and keeps buying flowers like a fool. She thinks I'm clueless. She's about to find out I'm not. And yeah, I'm angry, really angry. I won't pretend I'm above it. This is just the beginning. If you think I'm just going to sit back and let her play me, you're in for a surprise. I've already started making moves, and the next update is going to be wild. Trust me, I'm not done. Update 1. So, real talk, nobody ever warns you how much of marriage is just laundry and arguing about who left the milk out. But that's what makes all the weird stuff hit harder. After the airport incident, I couldn't just confront her and expect a big apology, right? Nah, I just went back to regular life. But now I was living with a stranger who didn't even realize she'd already lost. I was mad, but the pettiness ran deeper than just yelling or throwing her stuff on the lawn. I wanted her to feel it all the way down to her bank account and her ego. The first couple of days back home, it was like she was trying to win some most normal wife contest. She left her phone on the table while showering, left her laptop open in the kitchen, and even cooked dinner twice. She never cooks unless she's trying to distract me, so it just made it more obvious. She'd ask things like, did you talk to your mom lately? Or, hey, want to see Gage and Betty this weekend? Like she was checking if I hadn't said anything to anyone. I just replied, sure, maybe. I don't know, trying to act like I had no clue. That night, I started checking our joint accounts, just regular bills in our shared bank account. I didn't expect to find anything dramatic there, but I knew how she thinks. June always gets sloppy when she thinks she's the smartest person in the room. Right away, I noticed odd charges, like Uber rides in the middle of the day, not even in our city, and a random Venmo payment to someone named Adelaide for a dinner that never happened. She's never had a friend named Adelaide, so I screenshotted it. I pulled up our old shared calendar and found reminders for appointments she never told me about. I started a note on my phone to log everything. I'm not saying I'm the next Sherlock, but if you're going to cheat, maybe don't use the same credit card for everything. The next morning, I went to make coffee, and she was already up, making a big deal about running errands. Total overcompensation. She was slamming drawers, couldn't find her keys, and when I offered to help, she snapped at me, saying she was fine, then slammed the door on her way out. I spent the whole day digging through our digital life. I found her old iPad and remembered the passcode because she never changed it from default. I'm not proud of it, but at this point, I didn't care about privacy. Not after what I saw at the airport. There were old texts, a bunch of deleted stuff, but I saw one thread with Samuel that was way too flirty to be nothing. I won't pretend I didn't feel like breaking something, but honestly, I just felt more determined. I texted Gage and asked if he wanted to grab a drink that night. He showed up, and I laid it all out: airport incident, receipts, weird charges, and texts. Gage shook his head, saying he never liked how June talked down to me in front of others. He reminded me of the time she told his girlfriend Betty that I couldn't even fix a leaky faucet without watching YouTube. I asked if I was overreacting or if I should confront her and be done with it. Gage replied, "Nah, if you blow up now, she'll spin it and make it look like you're crazy. You've got to hit her where it hurts and make her feel like she's not untouchable." So, I started looking for ways to make her life uncomfortable without doing anything illegal or getting myself in trouble. The first thing I did was block her from our joint savings. I moved my half into a solo account. Nothing sneaky, just the legal minimum, but enough to make her notice. I also changed the passwords for all the streaming services, not because I thought it would ruin her life, but just to see if she noticed. She did. The next morning, I heard her cursing in the living room because she couldn't log into anything. She stormed into the bedroom and asked if I changed the password. I just shrugged and said, "Yeah, I got a weird security alert." She rolled her eyes and stormed off. I started splitting bills in half instead of paying for everything myself like usual. I sent her a Venmo request for her share. She acted all offended and said she was tight on cash this month. Could I just cover her and she'd pay me back? I told her, "Nah, I'm trying to build healthy financial habits." She laughed, but it was awkward. I could tell she was feeling the pressure. I also became way more active in our group chats. Normally, I just lurked, but now I was making plans, inviting people over, and being loud. I wanted her to know she wasn't the main character in my life anymore. One night at Gage and Betty's, June tried to act like we were this perfect couple, reaching for my hand at the table, but I just kept my hands in my hoodie pocket. Betty asked how June's trip was, and June launched into a whole story about how her hotel room smelled like bleach and how she barely slept. I said, Funny you never mentioned that in your texts." She fell silent, then claimed she was too tired. Gage raised his eyebrows at me. On the way home, June finally snapped. She accused me of being distant and said I'd been acting weird since she got back. I told her I was just trying to match her energy. She scoffed, called me paranoid, then slapped my arm and told me to stop being dramatic. I pushed her hand away, told her not to touch me right now. She slammed the door when we got home. Later that night, she came into the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, started crying, and said she was just stressed, that work had been hell and maybe we needed a break. I asked her if there was someone else. She called me ridiculous and said I should trust her. I just stared at her and said I wasn't stupid. She stormed out, slammed the bathroom door, and I heard her on the phone whispering. I texted my mom, saying, "Hey, things are rough with June, might come by this weekend." She replied, "You're always welcome," and asked if I wanted her to talk to June. I said, "Nah, not yet." The next day, June was cold, barely said 2 words, left early, and didn't come home until late. I checked our account. She had transferred $200 to her own checking. I moved another chunk of money out just in case. I started packing up my stuff little by little, not dramatically, just things she wouldn't notice missing. My old hoodie, a few chargers, my favorite shoes. I stashed them in my car. I also printed out all the receipts, hotel charges, and texts, putting them in a folder and hiding it in the trunk. I won't lie, It's exhausting playing the long game, but I want her to sweat. Last night, she finally snapped again. She walked into the kitchen, saw me on my phone, grabbed it from my hand, and started scrolling through my texts. I snatched it back and told her to chill. She yelled at me, saying she couldn't trust me, called me a psycho. I told her I was acting like a guy tired of being lied to. She tried to slap me. I blocked her arm. She pushed me, and I pushed her back. She stormed off and slammed the door to the guest room. That's where we are right now. She's sleeping in the guest room, and I'm in the bedroom. Neither of us is talking. I don't know if she's planning to leave or if she thinks she can outlast me, but I'm not done. I'm just getting started. The next move is going to make her wish she never tried to play me. Stay tuned. Update 2. So, I didn't expect her to cave this quickly. Maybe I overestimated June's patience or thought she never thought I'd push back. Let's be real. I've always been the one who lets things slide, and that's why she got so bold with the lies, treating me like I'm just a background character in her movie. That's what stings the most. She's been so sure I wouldn't fight back because I never have before. A couple of days into my plan to make her sweat, I started noticing strange little things. She suddenly cares about what I'm doing, but not in a sweet way. More like she's paranoid. She keeps asking if I'm going to my mom's for dinner or if I'm seeing Gage, popping into the room when I'm on my phone, waiting for me to say something. I started leaving the house without telling her where I was going just to see her reaction. She tries to play it cool but always asks if I want her to come with or who I'm seeing. So, I ramped it up. I moved the rest of my stuff out of our shared closet. Only the items I actually care about. Nothing she'd notice missing unless she really looked. My old hoodie, favorite t-shirts, all my chargers, and my backup debit card. I made it obvious I wasn't around much. I'd leave early and come back late. When she asked what I was up to, I'd just say I was out. She hated that. She's always needed updates. She asked if we could have dinner with her parents, claiming we hadn't seen them in ages and her dad had been asking about me. I said, sure, whatever, knowing full well that her mom doesn't like me, which is funny because I've always tried to keep the peace. When we went over there, June was all smiles, touching my arm at the table, acting like everything was perfect. Her dad started talking about a vacation they were planning and asked if we were saving for anything big. I just said, I'm not sure, we've been talking about splitting things up lately. June kicked me under the table hard and gave me a look. Her mom raised her eyebrows. After dinner, her mom cornered me in the kitchen, asking if everything was okay. I shrugged and said, yeah, we've had some rough weeks. I added, I'm not sure what June's told you, but you might want to check in. Her mom got stiff and said, maybe I should be more supportive. I almost laughed but just said, I'll keep that in mind. On the way home, June barely spoke. She stomped up the stairs and slammed the bedroom door. When I came in, she was sitting on the bed, scrolling on her phone. I asked if she was mad. She said she was just tired. I replied, cool, me too, and went to sleep on the couch. The next morning, I woke up to her standing over me, asking if we could talk. She had that fake calm voice she uses when she's about to lose it. She said she felt like I was punishing her for something. I told her I was just doing what was fair since apparently we were both keeping secrets. She went pale and started yelling, saying I was being childish and making things worse. She slapped my arm, I pushed her hand away, and she stormed out, slamming the door. I texted Gage, telling him I needed to get out for a bit. He said, come over. So I did. Betty was there too, asking what was going on. I told him the short version, and Betty just shook her head, saying she always thought June was too much. Gage said, look, if you need a place to crash, you know you can stay here. I told him I was good, just needed to vent. While I was there, June started blowing up my phone with texts. First, it was, where are you? Then, when are you coming home? And finally, are you with someone else? I didn't respond to any of them. Later that night, I returned home, and she was sitting in the dark in the living room. She asked if I was cheating on her. I laughed and said, are you serious right now? She claimed she was just feeling insecure because I'd been so cold. I told her she should have thought about that before lying to me. She got up and shoved me. I shoved her back. She slapped me, and I blocked her arm. She stomped off. The next day, she was super sweet, making breakfast, asking if I wanted coffee, and touching my shoulder, trying to act normal. I ignored her. She texted me at work, asking if I wanted to have dinner together. I said I was busy. She asked, "Are you mad at me?" I replied, "I'm just tired." That night, I called my mom and asked if I could come over. She said, "Of course," and asked if everything was okay. I said, "Not really, but I'll explain later." June asked where I was going, and I said, "Out." She got defensive, saying, "You're not going to your mom's without telling me." I looked at her and said, "I just did." When I got to my mom's, she had my old room set up. She didn't ask a million questions. She just made tea and gave me space. I scrolled through my phone, looking at everything I'd gathered, screenshots, receipts, messages. I'm not planning anything illegal, but I definitely want to make this hurt. So I started making moves. I called our landlord and asked about splitting the lease. I made sure all the bills were in her name. I started cutting off all the little conveniences she was used to, like the shared car. I took my keys and left her with the bus. I also told her parents the truth. Not dramatically, just the facts. "Your daughter has been lying to me. I don't know what she's told you, but I'm done covering for her." Her mom called her, and I heard them fighting through the wall. June was screaming. Her mom was yelling back. Then she hung up and came looking for me, asking, "Why did you tell my mom?" I said, "Because I'm not playing this game anymore." She tried to slap me again, and I blocked her arm. She stormed off and slammed the door. The next day, she bombarded my phone with texts, missed calls all day. She even showed up at my mom's house, banging on the door. My mom answered and said, "You need to calm down." June yelled that I was ruining her life and making her look bad. My mom just said, "Maybe you should think about your choices." I returned to our place to grab the last of my stuff, and June was sitting on the floor in the living room, crying. She asked, "Can't we just talk?" I said, "There's nothing left to say." She tried to grab my arm. I shook her off. She slapped me. I pushed her away. She threw a pillow at me. I left, got in my car, and drove away. That night, she called me 38 times. I didn't answer any of them. She's starting to crack, but I'm not done yet. The next step is going scorched earth. Final update. It's wild how the smallest thing can set everything off. I was at my mom's, scrolling through my phone, and noticed June was still using my Spotify because Adelaide's playlist popped up on the Now Playing. It's just a tiny thing, but it sums up the whole situation. She doesn't think I'll actually do anything. That's how it's always been. I let her run the show. She talks over me at dinner, picks fights in front of people, makes me the butt of every joke. It just became normal. At some point, she figured I'd always just take it and keep being the chill guy while she did whatever she wanted. After I left our place and moved my stuff to my mom's, she started texting like crazy. At first, it was the usual stuff. "Where are you? When are you coming home? Why aren't you answering?" But by the next morning, it escalated to, "Are you seeing someone else? Are you trying to ruin my life? You need to call me now." I ignored her, packing up the rest of my belongings in the car. I wasn't going to be the one chasing her down for answers. She's the one who destroyed everything. She can sit with it. Then I got a call from her dad, which I didn't expect. He said, "Stanley, what's going on? June's freaking out. She says you're spreading lies." I replied, "I'm not spreading anything. Ask her what she did last weekend." He was quiet for a moment and then said, "I hope you two can work this out." That was it. I hung up and blocked his number. I'm done with their drama. I started going through all our shared stuff and realized she'd been moving money out of our joint account into her own for weeks. Not even being sneaky, just straight up draining it. I transferred what was left into my solo account and texted her, "Hey, I moved my share out. The rest is yours. We're done with joint finances." She replied with a wall of text about how I was being dramatic and making her look bad in front of her family. I just left her on read. I went back to our place one last time to grab my old game console and a few boxes I'd left in the closet. She was there, sitting at the kitchen table with her phone in her hand, looking like she hadn't slept. She didn't even look up, just muttered, "You're really doing this?" I grabbed my things and said, "Yeah, I'm really doing this." She told me I was ruining everything and that I should have just talked to her. I replied, "I saw you at the airport, June. I heard everything." She went pale but tried to play it off, saying, "You don't know what you heard." I just laughed and walked out. Later that night, she started calling again. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. She sent a ton of texts, angry, sad, apologizing, blaming me. One of them said, "You never cared about me anyway." Another said, "I only did this because you stopped paying attention." Classic, trying to flip it back on me. She's always been like that. If she's losing, she'll drag you down with her. I started going through the last of our bills and accounts, canceling the utilities in my name, changing my mailing address, and making sure nothing tied me to her. I even took my name off the internet plan. She'll have to set that up herself, which she hates because she never understands how to do any of that. I texted Gage and Betty, letting them know what was happening. Gage said, "Good for you, man. About time." Betty sent a thumbs up emoji. A few days later, her mom called, asking if I could come talk to June, saying she wasn't eating, sleeping, and didn't know what to do. I told her I wasn't coming back. She got mad, saying I was being cruel. I just said I was done being the bad guy for someone else's mess. A week went by, and I started getting messages from people in our friend group, some apologizing, some asking for my side. I just told the truth. Yeah, I saw her at the airport with another guy. No, I'm not making it up. No, we're not getting back together. Some people believed me. Some didn't, whatever. The weirdest part is that the guy from the airport started texting me. I have no idea how he got my number. He said, "Man, I didn't know. I thought you two were separated." I told him, "Doesn't matter. Just stay away from me." He sent one more text. "Sorry. I hope you find someone better." I blocked him. So now it's just me and my mom for a while. Honestly, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. She doesn't ask a million questions. She just lets me do my thing. I started looking for a new apartment, going to the gym again, and hanging out with Gage more. I feel lighter, not in a movie way, but like I can finally hear myself think. June kept sending texts for a while, but it faded. I heard from Betty that she tried to get back with the guy from the airport, but he's not interested. She's posted a bunch of sad stories online, but I don't check. I blocked her everywhere. The main thing is I didn't want to just walk away. I wanted her to feel it, to see what happens when you treat people like they're disposable. I wanted her to know she lost. And she does. She's alone, her family's mad at her, her new guy's gone, and she's got to start over without me paying her bills. I still get mad about it sometimes, not going to lie, but I feel like I stood up for myself for once. I didn't let her spin it. I didn't let her win. It's not some perfect ending, but it's real. So yeah, if you're reading this and going through something similar, don't just sit there waiting for it to get better. Do something. You don't owe anyone your silence just to keep the peace. I'm out.